Okay everybody, welcome to the channel. Sorry if you hear a bit of an echo. I'm working on getting that fixed, but for the most part just try and ignore it, try and put it in the back of your head. Because what I want to talk about here is just a game that I think is really underappreciated and it's probably been lost in the echoes of time, you know, because it's been almost, well, it's actually been over 10 years since this game came out. And that game is pretty much the game you see in the background here, Medal of Honor 2010. Now a little bit of history about Medal of Honor 2010 is that originally it wasn't actually slated to be a franchise reboot. Originally Medal of Honor 2010 was going to be simply titled Medal of Honor Anaconda, simply because it was based off, you know, operations, you know, the Operation Anaconda, which was actually a very high-based and high-operative mission that you can actually find footage of on YouTube. And the campaign throughout the whole story arc does follow very closely to the book, if you've ever read the book. I personally haven't, but I've seen the video footage online, so I have an idea of what Operation Anaconda was pretty much about. And this game right here follows very, very closely, and I think this really set the trend of what Medal of Honor at the time was trying to do. If you remember back in like 2010-9 era, what generally ended up happening is you had like Call of Duty and Battlefield, which were pretty much trying to be, you know, the big action spectacles. Call of Duty more than Battlefield. Battlefield took itself a bit more seriously than Call of Duty, whereas Call of Duty was strategically known for starting to become sort of a Michael Bay-esque sort of franchise, you know, with huge action set pieces, you know, stuff that you realistically probably wouldn't see in a real World War III environment, you know, Modern Warfare 3 as we saw. But Medal of Honor really tried to focus on the realistic events, you know, the real true story soldier events, and that's what Medal of Honor 2010 did really, really well in my eyes. The campaign was littered with huge set pieces, you know, and again, you know, they did take from, you know, Call of Duty and the whole action, fast-paced sort of thing, and I'll get to the multiplayer in a little second, but I just really want to talk about this game in general, you know, the whole story and multiplayer. So going in on the story, you play as pretty much Rabbit, the character is, it's your main character, and what ends up happening is throughout the campaign, you're sort of tasked with doing these little operations here and there, and then it also takes you in the direction of a Call of Duty approach. Now, I'm not too sure if earlier Medal of Honors did the same approach where you played as two antagonists, but effectively, there's a character you play as in this game, Patterson. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, Patterson is actually a retcon of the original character from Medal of Honor 1999, James Patterson, so it's a nice little throwback Easter egg sort of thing that they threw in here. Something just nice, you know, for the nostalgic Medal of Honor fans who know the franchise. So, you know, if you're going to reboot it, you may as well throw somewhat of a character from the original franchise in there. But everything else in this game is completely new, whether it be characters, you know, whether it be, you know, set pieces, it's all new, because this was actually Medal of Honor's very first attempt of leaving World War II. And unlike Medal of Honor Warfighter, again, I have to stress that I really do like, Medal of Honor 2010 is a good game. You know, critics actually did think it was a good game, and they actually thought this could be a real stepping stone and a real, you know, and a real leap forward for the franchise, you know, going somewhere new for the very first time. Now, Medal of Honor 2010 actually came out, and its biggest competition was probably Call of Duty Black Ops 1. Now, both these games were different to their roots. You know, Treyarch at this point had only done World War II Call of Duties, and Medal of Honor as a franchise was strategically, was traditionally known as being a World War II game. I mean, if you look at everyone, if you say what's a Medal of Honor game, more than likely they'll bring up games such as Frontline, Rising Sun, Allied Assault, even the original game. These were all set in World War II, so they were. Whereas, again, like I say, Treyarch, they were leaving World War for the first time, but Treyarch kept it a bit more close, so that, whereas Medal of Honor went way, way, way far away from World War II, you know, in the events of Operation Anaconda, like I say, almost 60 years away from World War II. Treyarch stayed relatively close in that they didn't go into the modern era, and funny enough, they actually never went to the modern era. Treyarch went to the Vietnam era / Cold War, so they only took maybe 20 years of a gap sort of that from World War, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong. Whereas Medal of Honor 2010 just went, you know what, nope, something completely new. And although a lot of people did like this approach and thought it was actually a nice step, a lot of people will say it was probably the wrong step at the wrong time, and here's why. Up until that point, we had games such as Battlefield and Modern Warfare franchises, which were pretty much, again, it's in the name, it's a modern day setting game. Medal of Honor at this point was playing catch up, and a lot of people will say that was probably the wrong move, because realistically people then looked at it and went, well, what can you bring to the table that, say, Battlefield or Call of Duty hasn't at this point with a modern setting? And so for the most part they were getting left behind, whereas again, the multiplayer aspect was pretty much a mashup of Call of Duty and Battlefield. You know, it wasn't as big, large scale as Battlefield, had a lot of the destructible environments, not to the level of Battlefield, but it was still sort of a close quarters, you know, playing style and faster paced Battlefield, sort of what happens if you merge Call of Duty and Battlefield together. And I do think that's why a lot of the community weren't really too fond of Warfighter, because even though Medal of Honor 2010 was a nice, you know, comparison of the two, Call of Duty and Battlefield, Medal of Honor Warfighter sort of took a new direction. It was still smaller than Battlefield, but it was still smaller than Battlefield, but, you know, not as small as Call of Duty, if that makes sense. but a lot of people just didn't see it as the same game. Now, a lot of people were like, you know, me for instance, like, well, Medal of Honor 2010, as much as I enjoyed it, it did have a lot of faults, it did have a lot of problems. So them making a lot of these changes, I don't really mind. Whereas I think a lot of the community went, you know what, nah, I prefer the older game, so we're just going to stay at that, and we're not going to get Warfighter. And which really is a shame, because Medal of Honor, like I say, as a series, is a massive series in terms of the FPS game. Brand recognition is still very well received with this game, so it is. Which at the same time is really disappointing when you see that it's pretty much being shelved at the minute. Now, I don't think it'll be shelved forever, as I've made, you know, in countless other videos, so I'm not really going to go into it too much. This is just a look back at Medal of Honor 2010 and seeing what it did right. One of the issues I found with this game as well was when it came to the weapons and so forth. And I feel, because if you guys remember, Battlefield creators DICE, they were actually the team that was developing the multiplayer of this game. About 6 months after the release of Bad Company, they were told to release a multiplayer component for this game, which isn't a lot of time, which is probably what a lot of people felt, it, you know, feels really watered down, sort of rushed multiplayer. And it really is a multiplayer that is rushed when you think about it, and that's only because DICE at the same time as they were making this, they were pretty much making Battlefield 3 at this point, so they were working on 2 different engines on 2 different games. So I don't really fault them for making the multiplayer rushed and, you know, sort of watered down. And the maps, like I say, were okay. The weapons, very limited choices in the game, so I can't really fault them for too much. But overall, it was a fun experience, and the campaign, like I said, the campaign was really, really good, so it was. And I think that's a real burden that's struck this franchise quite a bit. It's always felt rushed. You know, since probably Medal of Honor Rising Sun, the games have never felt completely finished, because that game was, you know, plagued for being rushed and so forth. The franchise, I think EA just really wants to rush the franchise out so they can make the easy money when it's clearly not ready, and that happened with Warfighter, it happened with this. The only difference between this game and Warfighter is this game made money, and quite a bit of money, so yeah, can't really complain about it. Now, going into the campaign again, one of the things that I really liked about the campaign was overall the set pieces. I really thought the campaign focused well on that and bringing a more close, sort of behind enemy line sort of approach. You know, again, it's sort of Call of Duty-esque, you know, except Call of Duty takes a bit more action-packed, fast-paced. This was a much more slower game to a degree on some levels, where some levels were really quick-paced and you had to, you know, kick through doors and, you know, just jump around like the real action here really quick. Other parts of the games were really slow in that aspect, and I think that's why it didn't really, you know, work for a lot of people, because some people didn't know whether they were meant to be a, you know, real spy tactic, which was pretty much what the earlier Medal of Honor games were. It was pretty much a one-man soldier going undercover effectively. If you play Medal of Honor 1999, that's pretty much what that game was. Whereas this game had moments like that where it was really, you know, slow when you were going behind enemy lines, quick operations, getting it done without any questions asked. Whereas other missions were really super quick and just wanted you to get to the point straight away. And it really did have a problem with trying to figure out what game it wanted to be. Overall, I liked it, but I can see why a lot of people, you know, were like, well, I don't know what I'm playing here. Am I playing an action thriller? Am I playing a, you know, spy game? I just don't know what I'm working with here. So I can see why a lot of people, you know, were a bit hesitant with it. But overall, like I said, the cinematics of the game were very good, so they were. I don't think it graphically holds up as well as it, you know, did back then, but, you know, you can't really complain about it. It's a game that's over 10 years old now, so it is. But overall, like I say, I enjoyed it. I look back at it, and I look back at it with fondness. So I do think it's really underappreciated, and if EA were to say tomorrow, we're going to make a remastered version of this game, I wouldn't be disappointed in any way. One thing, I've always said this, if they were going to remaster a Medal of Honor game, whether it be this or Warfighter, you need to add extended content, additional content for those sort of games, because like I say, probably more so this game than Warfighter, and here's why. Medal of Honor 2010 was really watered down. It only got 2 maps, so it did ever release, same as Warfighter, funny enough, but the difference between that and Warfighter is that EA were going to do a long haul for Warfighter, whereas this game, it had decent sales and EA pretty much abandoned it at that point. So that, I mean, obviously made the sequel, but they just made the sequel because it made money. I think if they were going to remaster this or Warfighter, it'd have to have additional content ASAP, and I wouldn't be opposed to this. If they remastered this on the Unreal Engine or, you know, the Frostbite engine, for instance, I'd be really open to it, so would. But yeah, you know, that's my honest thoughts of Medal of Honor 2010. I really did like it. What did you guys think? But if you guys play this game, you know, tell me what you thought of it. If you guys like the video, if you guys like the content on the channel, hit subscribe. You know, I do a lot of Medal of Honor stuff and different stuff. But yeah, I've been Recursive, and you have a nice day. Thanks for checking out the video, guys. Peace.